Welcome to the County Retirement Plan Eligibility video. My name is Vanessa Holland, the MPERS Internal Auditor. My hope is that the information included in this video will help give you a good base knowledge for eligibility into the county plan that will help alleviate most of the confusion we see during the county plan employer audits. My contact information is provided on the screen so that if you have any questions at all, you can reach out to myself or anyone on the audit team. The top audit issues are all surrounding eligibility. During this video, we will go through how to establish a cross-county plan participation verification process and what tools are available to help you make the correct determination for eligibility upon hire and rehire. This is the top audit issue we currently have with the county plan employer audits. For this process, it is important to find out if the employee has ever participated in the county plan and if they are currently participating in the county plan. Whether or not an employee is currently in the county plan or has participated in the plan in the past is the first thing you have to do in determining eligibility. The second top audit issue are the rules for reemployment. We will go over this alongside the past cross-county plan participation verification, as the two go hand in hand. The other thing we will do during this video is to make sure you understand the terms for retirement. I always say we are speaking two different languages. We have retirement language as defined in statute, and then your agency uses these terms as they fit for you and how you run your business. As soon as we can reconcile these, it makes both of our jobs much easier, at least regarding retirement. We will go through these terms throughout the presentation, leaving you with the information needed to correctly classify your employees for retirement purposes. For audit issues 3 and 4, defining these terms should alleviate these issues. Last but not least is not only defining what voluntary enrollment is, but more importantly, the process involved with how to correctly voluntarily enroll someone. There are two main goals of our audit department: transparency and education. We want the audit process itself to be used as much as an educational tool for the employer as it is a review for compliance. Our goal is to sit with you and provide a one-on-one experience to go over your processes and determine how they apply to the retirement laws, while also providing recommendations for how to proceed on a forward-going basis. Retirement is a full-time job for us, but we understand it is only a small part of what you do. We hope that the MPERS employer audit will give you the confidence to know you are in compliance with the retirement laws while finding efficient and effective ways to stay in compliance. How to determine eligibility. You asked and we listened. During the calendar year 21 audits, we addressed the cross-county plan participation verification process and were asked by multiple county plan employers to create a checklist to help employers ensure they are taking all retirement eligibility rules into account when establishing eligibility for a new hire or a rehire. The biggest thing we found during these audits was that employers were having a hard time, 1, understanding the rules surrounding the cross-plan participation, 2, establishing a process that ensures all retirement boxes are checked when determining eligibility, and 3, ensuring reemployment followed termination of employment rules. The checklist will help you determine who is eligible, when they are eligible, who is mandatory, when are they mandatory, and who is ineligible. To navigate the process of eligibility, we need to break down the information that's needed. Because this is a multiple employer plan, your cross-county plan participation verification process is the very first step to determining eligibility. This step cannot be overlooked. The county plan eligibility checklist is not required, but it is something you can use to not only help you determine eligibility, but something you can keep in your records to provide as much documentation to support why you did or did not put the employee in the plan. You could also provide a copy to the employee upon termination to help them and any future county plan employer determine their eligibility. Where can you find this tool, you ask? Well, let me show you. If you have not seen our new and improved website, there is no time like the present. Not only can you easily locate several other great sources of information, this is where you can locate the electronically fillable document. Once you are on our main page, you want to click on Employer Reports. A drop-down will come up and then immediately click on County. The County Employer Reporting page has it listed as the very second thing on the list, County Plan Eligibility Checklist. Once you click on it, you get the 2-page fillable PDF document. This can either be saved electronically or printed off and filled out. The checklist will take you through all the steps needed to determine eligibility. It is intended to be filled out with the employee, as there are some answers they will have to provide. It also provides you with some important notes at the top, such as once a person begins county plan participation at any county plan covered employer, the person must begin participation at all county plan covered employers where the person works. It also provides a definition for seasonal employees and when to consider them permanent versus temporary, because this is one of our biggest questions we receive. Because this tool is not mandatory, we have left a comment section at the bottom where you can have the employee sign it to show that they went through the checklist and answered the questions with you. This would be an extra step to support you confirmed the cross-plan employer participation, you offered voluntary service and they refused, or to support why you enrolled someone in the plan. Let's go through eligibility as it is on the checklist. The first 2 requirements any employee must meet before going further are the minimum age required and the citizenship or immigration status. If they are not 18, reassess again when they are. If they are 18 and not a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident alien, you must contact NPERS to determine if their immigration status qualifies for retirement. Please know that this is a new requirement since the receipt of an Attorney General's opinion on August 19, 2022. This opinion changed how we are required to evaluate eligibility on a case-by-case basis. NPERS Legal Counsel is tasked with reviewing all documentation and providing the employer a determination of eligibility based solely on their immigration status. The employer would then need to continue through the checklist to verify if they meet all of the other eligibility requirements. Once you have met the first 2 qualifications, your very next question should be, is this person currently participating in the county plan due to employment with any county plan covered employer? This is the first step in that cross-county plan participation verification process. This is the very next question listed on the eligibility checklist as well. If you answer yes to this, then the employee must begin participation in the plan immediately. Once a person begins county plan participation at any county plan covered employer, the person must begin participation at all county plan covered employers where they work. It will not matter if you classify them as temporary or seasonal, or if they only render 5 hours a month. Because this is a multiple employer plan, once they are contributing in the plan itself, they must continue on any service rendered for any county plan employer. It is also important to remember that not just Nebraska counties are covered by the plan. There are several health departments, the Sturr Museum, and Western Nebraska Regional Airport. If an employee is contributing at any of these, they will also need to contribute at your county. On the other hand, it's good to remember Douglas and Lancaster counties are not covered by the plan. This is a question the employee should be able to answer. If the employee is not aware, they can contact NPERS in front of you, or you can contact NPERS and we can provide you with the basic information on whether they are currently participating in the county plan. On the opposite side of this, if you have an employee that becomes eligible at your county and you know they are rendering service at other county plan employers, we would request that you notify the other county plan employers of their participation at your county so that the other employers can correctly enroll them in the plan and contributions can be remitted for service rendered by that employee. We would also ask that you educate the employee and ensure they know that if they start contributions at one county plan employer, they would need to start contributions at all county plan employers. The next step is to determine if the person has ever participated in the county plan while working for any other county plan covered employer and then terminated employment. If they have never participated in the county plan and are not currently participating in the plan, then you can move past the county plan cross-verification and identify what classification of employee they are, permanent or temporary. We will get to those definitions here shortly. But if they have had past county plan participation, we first need to know if it has been within the last 120 days. If they terminated employment within 120 days or they prearranged return to service, they need to immediately go into the plan regardless of classification as they have not had a bona fide termination. If they have had past county plan participation, but it is past the 120 days separation period required for that bona fide termination, then you must look at the classification of the employee. If this employee is a permanent employee, regardless of how many hours they are going to work, they must begin participation immediately. The only way a past participant will not immediately begin participation upon hire or rehire is if they are classified as temporary. However, with temporary status, the employer must be able to support that the employee is actually rendering temporary service. It is hard to support a temporary employee, even if they are seasonal, if they have been doing the job over a year. There should be processes and documentation in place to confirm the temporary status. While we are talking about past participation in the county plan, we believe this is a perfect time to bring up this very important reminder. This is one of the biggest audit findings within the county plan employers because of the difficulty in managing members' participation across multiple employers. In order to take any distribution from your NPERS county retirement funds, you must have a bona fide termination. This means that you must stop working at all county plan covered employers for a minimum of 120 days with no prearrangement to return to service. This includes temporary service, seasonal service, most board memberships, and independent contracting. As we know, this process can be difficult to determine. Just know that if you need help, feel free to call NPERS at any time. We brought up the different county job classifications earlier. So now let's look at exactly what they are and define the terms for retirement purposes. When we say classification of the employee, we are asking if they are permanent or temporary. For retirement purposes, every employee must fall within one of these two categories. If they are a seasonal employee for your county, you must still define if they are a permanent or temporary seasonal position. And then further, what documentation do you have to support their classification of permanent versus temporary? What processes do you have in place to support temporary versus permanent? Temporary employee is not defined in statute and allows the employer to make that determination. However, when the APA tests a temporary employee, they look to see if they have been employed for longer than 1 year. If they have, are there processes in place that terminate the employee after 1 year and processes in place to require the employee to reapply? NPERS recommendation in classifying your seasonal employees as either permanent or temporary is identifying whether or not the employee is hired with the intent that they will return in subsequent seasons. If they are expected to return each season, then they should be classified as permanent. If you just don't know, but they returned, without any processes in place to terminate their employment or documentation to support that the position is temporary and will only last one season, then they should also be classified as permanent. However, if the employee is hired with the intent to render service in one season and they are not expected to return, then they would be classified as a temporary employee. If this happens year after year, they are no longer considered temporary unless there is additional supporting processes and documentation. When determining eligibility based on classification, a temporary employee is not eligible to participate in the plan unless they are already currently participating in the county plan through another county plan employer, or they were participating in the plan but terminated within 120 days. If you have confirmed the employee is not currently in the plan, has never participated in the plan in the past, and is a temporary employee, they are not eligible. But if they are a permanent employee, you must now determine if they are full-time or part-time. These are statutorily defined. Full-time is when the employee is employed to work half or more of the regularly scheduled hours during each pay period. Part-time is defined as someone employed to work less than one half of the regularly scheduled hours during each pay period. So, what are the regularly scheduled hours? That's up to the county to define. You do this by determining what the regularly scheduled hours are for the position itself. For some counties, this is different depending on the position, and for other counties, most of their job positions all have the same regularly scheduled hours. This question is the next question on the eligibility checklist. Per statute, this must also be defined per pay period and not per week or month, unless, of course, you have a monthly pay period. The checklist will ask, what job classification was the person hired to work? What is the pay period for this classification? What is the number of hours per pay period that equals full-time equivalency, 1.0 FTE? But in other words, what is the regularly scheduled hours for this position? And then, what is the number of hours per pay period this person is hired to work? If the person is hired on as a regular employee to work half or more of those hours, then they are considered full-time and must be immediately put into the plan. So now that we know that permanent full-time is mandatory, what do we do for permanent part-time employees? The county plan has the option for voluntary enrollment. This is a great feature to allow those that do not meet the mandatory threshold the ability to contribute to the plan. However, there is a very specific process to voluntarily enroll. If the process is not followed, the member could be taken out of the plan upon discovery. We often hear that people either don't know there is a voluntary enrollment form or they assume the beneficiary designation form is the voluntary enrollment form. Know that the beneficiary form is a completely different form and will not be considered as an enrollment form. The state-county cash balance voluntary enrollment form must be completed, signed by both the employee and the employer, and submitted to NPERS within 30 days of hire. State statute requires the employee exercise the option to begin participation within 30 days of employment or of taking office for elected officials. The only way to do this is by completing and submitting the form to NPERS. For those of you that are not aware of this form or have not had the opportunity to see where it is on the new website, let's take a moment to go through that important process. So when you're back on that home screen of our website, go to that same spot, Employer Reports. The drop-down will come up and click on County. Here is the screen that will pop up. you can see that County Plan Eligibility Checklist again. This time, you want to click on Forms for County Employers. Scroll all the way down on that page until you see State and County Plan Forms. Once you click on that, a drop-down will pop up, and the voluntary enrollment form is the 5th form down. Here is an example of what it looks like. Remember to always get the form off of our website. If you print out forms and then have them available, make sure to always check back on our website and ensure you are using the latest version available. All of our forms, manuals, and handbooks will be updated on the website as needed. You can see the form is not long and does not require a lot of information. However, it is imperative it is filled out if a permanent employee is not mandatory and they wish to enroll. We have discussed mandatory enrollment upon hire, voluntary enrollment, and then those that are not eligible to enroll. Now, let's discuss those permanent employees that were considered part-time upon hire and did not wish to enroll. These employees must all have their hours tracked and then put into the plan if they meet the hours threshold for mandatory enrollment. So what is the hours threshold for mandatory enrollment? Well, that depends on your pay cycle. If a permanent employee works 1/2 or more of the regularly scheduled hours for any 6 biweekly pay periods, 6 semi-monthly pay periods, or 3 monthly pay periods in any calendar year, January 1st to December 31st, then you must enroll the employee in the next payroll period. Know that these payroll periods do not have to be consecutive. So if you have someone meet the hours threshold in January, June, and December, then they must be enrolled in January the following year. It's important to note that there is no document or enrollment form for members that meet the mandatory enrollment requirement. The county plan employer enrolls them simply by starting contributions. We hear all the time that employers are waiting to receive the enrollment paperwork back from the employee to enroll them into the plan. Most of the time, the employer is referring to the beneficiary form. Know that it is definitely beneficial for the employee to return that beneficiary form to NPERS, but it is not required. It is up to the county plan employer to start contributions as soon as the employee is eligible. At NPERS, we do our best to educate employers about the plans and provide the best customer service we can. If the county plan employer has questions, contact your NPERS employer reporting contact. And if a member has a question, have them call our Member Services Center. Thank you for listening today. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call.